Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your boy, John, and today this is going to be the Geeks from the Multiverse episode on Tom Clancy. Basically, it's going to be the Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, all that fun stuff that basically Tom Clancy's ever made, so stay tuned. Guys, this is your boy, John, and as always with me is Matt.
What's up, everybody? And Hank.
Hank. Yes, I know. We haven't really mentioned Hank in a while. Yes, our Hank is part of our mascot, which I know if you may have listened to us before, Hank is just basically a shark on a red Solo cup. It's wonderful. But anyways, guys, we're going to be talking about Tom Clancy like we said before, and I am excited because Tom Clancy, I know, yes, he's very successful with being an author and whatnot, but I think it was kind of interesting when he decided to kind of branch out to like the video games and of course the movies that he's, created, but really the video games of this, because like some of my favorite games like from this, I know like a lot of people say, oh, Splinter Cell. I'm not saying, trust me, Splinter Cell is like, it's like OG, kind of the stealth games. Cause like if you screw up any part of that, like if any sequence, like you're going back to the beginning or you're going back to the mission that you were just on. So it's like, you have to be very intricate. It's like almost like Metal Gear Solid in a sense, but like you had to be very intricate in what you were doing. But like, some of the other games, like with the Ghost Recon, I'm just thinking like, Scooby Doo right now. I don't know why. Reggie, like the Ghost Recon and like Rainbow Six, like some of my favorites were like the sorry, not Ghost Recon. It was actually Rainbow Six. It was Vegas. So like, if you ever played those games, you're going in. It basically, like when you're playing Rainbow Six Vegas, it's more like you're a SWAT character and you're going in and you have like, of course you got your riot shield, you got your shotgun. So it's like, you're basically a cop in the game. And it's like, you're going through a story mode too, but like a lot of people would really just play it really for more the multiplayer. So this is kind of like the earlier on, kind of versions of like the online play when they came out. So like, I know when we like to talk about, Call of Duty, I know Matt's, favorite video games of all time. Boo. I know Matt loves Call of Duty so much that we're going to talk about it a little bit today, but,
they're overrated.
But like, what's funny though, is like, these series of games like Ghost Recon or even, Rainbow Six, these were the OG, like in my opinion, of like how these games should have really taken over the Call of Duty of today. Because I'm for real, like these would have been like, if they could remaster some of these games and put it now, I guarantee you there'd be a lot more people following it. The problem is, I know we're going to get into it later. Some of the other games, like the Extraction is one that is absolutely terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah,
we're going to get into that later. But anyways, guys, I know we're going to be talking about some things here in a second, but let's talk about YouTube, man. So I know, fun little fact, Matt did something last year that he's going to be doing again this year, and I'm going to let Matt take the floor on this one.
Yeah, so last year I entered basically a film editing competition called Edit Fest. This is through Film Supply. If you check out our page, there is actually, the video is on our page. It is called One Night Stand, so it is on the page. That was my submission. It's kind of edgy, I guess. I mean, it's an edgy trailer.
It would be like a serial kill version of a one night stand. I mean, that's kind of how I would view it. Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to put it. Yeah. But
so this year, it's a yearly competition. So I am once again entering the competition again. The competition is very, very stacked against me, but I am going to do my best. This time around, though, I am not doing a movie trailer. I am doing a title sequence. So much like, shows like True Detective and True Blood, shows that have these really grandiose titles, opening sequences. That's really what I'm doing. I'm not doing like Longmire or some of those weird ones where they're, it just shows like a random truck driving down the street and Longmire,
It's a Longmire.
That's it. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that again, this year. So there are 3 grand prizes plus the People's Choice. So once I submit, we'll be letting you guys know it's posted and to vote. and where to go vote and all that stuff. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, so a little fun fact about Matt is that, he does, of course, a lot of the editing for, our audio and stuff like that. But like he is, wouldn't say his passion, but like I would say, some of the things that he likes to do is like stuff like this where, he can kind of show that kind of creative side through like technology in a sense of like, being able to be like film editing in a sense. I mean, it's not like, God, I don't know what the hell that was. That was disgusting. I'm sorry. Basically, it's just interesting where it's like, yeah, you're taking audio, but in this case, you're now taking the audio and you're also taking a visual and you're mashing them together and hopefully, making that kind of like symphony working together. And it's just, it's interesting because it's not, everyone's like, oh, it must be easy. I'm like, no, like what makes it so easy about trying to mix two together?
It's definitely not easy. And what makes it even more difficult is I don't have a show. So I'm trying to make an opening sequence for a show that doesn't exist. So one, I have to convey through the clips that are provided for me, the music provided for me of what the general idea, I have to tell a story through the clips. I have to tell a story, through the whole thing. But I don't have a show. Like I don't have actors. I don't have a premise for the show at all. I have to make it up and then try to make an opening sequence for it. So this is like what the difficulty is.
Well, not only that, this is Matt's first attempt as basically being a Hollywood producer or director in this sense, because like, when we talk about all the time of like, hey, we should start a show and, start to create our own shit. Well, this is Matt's version of doing that in a sense, but basically showing people like, hey, it's not easy. And again, we know that, the shows that we watch in the movies and stuff like that, like, yeah, of course it takes millions of dollars to like produce and do all this stuff. But the problem is, we're talking about a guy here, okay, average Joe, okay, literally does have, I'm not saying a lot of experience, but doesn't have a lot of.
Who's Joe?
I thought you're Joe.
I'm not Joe.
Okay, sorry. Matthew, if you want to get technical with your legal name. No, but like you get a guy who doesn't have a lot of technology, who doesn't have the capabilities of some of these people that have their own studios that are basically having multiple people to do one thing on this 1 minute clip.
Right.
Where he's doing it literally all by himself, doing all the editing, doing all the things that make sense. And so again, it's a feat. It's not something that, most people can say, oh, I have all this capability. It's like, no, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work.
So a lot of these people do have, and they're not just, American based. These are people in America. There are people in Europe. There's people all over the world entering this competition. And, a lot of them have, studios where they have people that do storyboards and they have people that are writing the story for them. They have people that are doing, it might just be that, one person, but at least they have somebody that's like, hey, can you make me like an abstract piece to put, to overlay on this clip? And they have somebody to do that.
Unfortunately, I can help.
For me, it's me.
Well, not only that, I mean, I try to give him some ideas. He's more like, yeah, thanks, but go fuck yourself. I'll just figure it out myself.
Normally, it's like, no, that sucks.
That sucks. Get the fuck out of my face. I'm like, well, I mean, I tried. I mean, I'm trying to help. He's like, yeah, fuck you. And I'm like, well, okay, well, fuck me, I guess. No, but like, so again, guys, when you see this, like, again, look at it. Hopefully you guys like it, and also just share it out and, again, vote when the time to vote is coming, because it's important, So like, if we can, it's great, because reality is I know there's a cash prize. I'm not going to say what it is, and it doesn't matter. But the point is if he did get the chance to win, it'll help tremendously. It's not just
even
for him,
the cash prize, but even just not the cash prize itself, but like all of the, having the, a lot of the winners of the, there are like 4 winners of this, they get the year, 2 year, 3 years, I think, for the winners. They get the yearly membership to Film Supply. They get a yearly membership to the music portion of it. They get a membership to Soundly, which is their sound effect, affiliate. So there's a lot of like benefits. They also give you, like film editing stuff to use. So a lot of it's like, and I'll give the dollar amount. I mean, a lot of like the grand winner of this whole thing, which I hope to one day do. I don't think it'll be this year, but I hope to one day be but there's like $65,000 worth of prizes that they give away.
Well, and not only, so here's the other thing too, is that because it's I wouldn't say world renowned, but I would say a lot of people know about this, that there's millions of people at least following it. You know, it can help in the long run because literally it gives that recognition. So it would also help us kind of boost, you know, the podcast and be able to do other things. So it's not just, you know, we're just saying that, you know, oh, it's about the cash. No, it's not. It's not really about the cash. Honestly, it's about, you know, sharing that word out and being like, hey, you know, yeah, we're not as big as you guys are, but we're saying, hey, granted, I mean, he's more, like I said, I'm just the guy that talks on the microphone. I know here, it's okay. I understand. But like, you know, like with Matt here, it's like, yes, he's got a creative, you know, visual mind, and that's great. That's why I said, I'm just the guy on the microphone doing my thing and, you know, hopefully making it funny. So maybe that's what I, you know, bring to the table here. But like, you know, for him, it's like, it just helps us boost the podcast. And again, you know, yes, it is a hobby. It's what we like to do, but it, you know, who knows?
Boost, you know, it'll boost the channel, and, you know, hopefully down the road, it'll boost my portfolio as well, being able to have like these contests that I've entered and having, you know, these video clips that I've made and put together, and they're, you know, they're on the YouTube page so people can see them, and I can link them to, you know, my LinkedIn or whatever, and be like, hey, these are the things that I've been working on. So, I mean, it does help in that way, but yeah, I mean, once I get it submitted and voting starts, which is, I believe, the 4th is that when I can start submitting. And then I think October is when voting starts. So I'll let everybody know, and we'll post links and everything. So we'll let you guys know.
Perfect.
So, John, who the fuck is Tom Clancy?
Well, that's a great fucking question, man. Who the fuck is? I mean, I didn't even know what the fuck he looked like personally. I know there's an actual, oh no, actually, I think I was thinking of a different dude. I thought of the same person for a second, but I know his name's Clancy Brown. I realized that afterwards. He is an actor, but that's not the same dude. I know, I'm sorry. I was thinking of a different guy, but
I think most people, I mean, maybe you and I do, but I think a lot of people might see like the name on it, you know, they'll see like, you know, Tom Clancy's The Division or Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and you kind of like ignore the Tom Clancy part of it, and you see like, oh, Rainbow Six, oh, you know, The Division, you know, hey, you're jumping on The Division, you know, like you kind of ignore the Tom Clancy part, even though like he is really the one who started all of it, you know, to begin with. So Tom Clancy, basically, you already said it. You know, he is an American novelist.
yes.
And he is best known for, I guess you could say, like, technically detailed espionage and, like, military science, you know, storylines that he's done in several books. Some of those, and you might have heard these if you've watched any movie in the past, you know, 30, you know.
I'd say 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hunt for the Red October, Patriot Games, Sum of All Fears, Clear and Present Danger, Rainbow Six, and those are just to name a few. There are a few more. Red Storm, I believe, is another one.
Yeah, see, I like the biggest one I would say is really the Hunt for Red October. That's a very classic movie. That's with Sean Connery. If people didn't know, like he's one of the main actors.
Well, and I think Patriot Games, Some of All Fears, and Clear and Present Danger all have Harrison Ford in them, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe I don't believe I've ever watched the Sum of All Fears, so I honestly don't know, to be honest. I mean, maybe the others. You're probably right. I just know the Hunt for Red October. Like I said, it is a very
that's a military movie, but like submarine, you know, movie.
But yeah, like and I mean, well, like I said, I mean, most people, if you watch movies, great. But I mean, I would say if you're a video game nerd like us, you really know more about the video games more than I would say the movies as much. I mean,
I don't think I've read a Tom Clancy book, to be honest with you.
Neither have I. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest with you. But like I said,
I can read.
Oh no, all right. I think we both can read. I've already told you my reading capacity. I
don't pick Tom Clancy books to read.
No, okay, listen, real quick. If I had a choice to actually read a book, honestly, I would rather read, and I'm going to say, I don't know why, but I'd rather read a nonfiction. I'd rather read like history. That's just, I know everyone's like, well, that's boring. And I'm like, no, it's because I like to learn about, you know, people and culture, and that's just me. Now, I'm not saying everyone's the same, but like, I'd rather read something like that where, you know, I know my wife, and I've told you this before, she could literally pick up one book that's like 500 fucking pages and literally probably read that within a day and just be like, I'm done. And she could tell you the whole fucking story, summarize it, all this other stuff. And I look at her and I'm like, well, good for fucking you, because I would sit there and it would take me 3 months to go read the book, because I'd be like, all right, I read 10 pages today. That's cool. Put down the book. I can't sit there and just like have that imagination to read it and visualize it. I can't do that. Honestly, I'd rather have a fucking picture book. If I'm going to be honest, like I'd rather do something like that. But
John needs a pop-up book.
Give me a pop-up book. I'll fucking read that all day long. That's why I love reading my kids' books, you know, like the Dr. Seuss and shit like that. Because I'm like, hey, at least I can see it. Oh, that's cool. You know, then just like read it to my son.
Yeah.
You
just need a pop-up book, John.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for making me sound like an idiot. Anyways,
I was like, you know, when I was looking up some of this stuff, like I actually didn't realize that he had a lot of these like earlier games. You know, when I'm looking at them, I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard of any of these, to be honest.
No, like some of the ones that because I had to kind of also do the same thing and just kind of look it up. But like, like the actual original, let's say Rainbow Six game that came out in 1998. I didn't know. I didn't realize it was, I mean, a lot of these were honestly just for Windows or really just the PC. It didn't, sorry, let me rephrase that.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of these were PC. Sorry, and there was some console games,
and most of them are just like Sims. Like Hunt for the Red October, Red Storm Rising. There's another Hunt for the Red October because the first one obviously wasn't. Good enough.
Oh, sorry, my bad. You're talking about the movie games in a sense.
I'm talking early. These are all the early games.
Okay, I thought we were talking about like the series of the other games.
The Cardinal of the Kremlin, which was 91.
Well, wouldn't you remember, Matt, since you were a kid? You know, and you remember all that shit, right? No.
I don't think as a kid in 91 I was playing Cardinal of the Kremlin, to be honest with you, but SSN, which was a submarine sim in 96, produced by Simon and Schuster.
Simon and Schuster. That's an interesting name.
Ruthless.com. I don't know what the hell that is, but that's a strategy-based game loosely on the book. Shadow Watch, which is 2000, a turn-based game with a novel of the same name, Sum of All Fears. 2002, a tactical first-person shooters, similar in style to Rainbow Six, but based on the Ghost Recon engine.
So that's interesting how it takes both and then just was like, boom, do it that way. Okay.
And that was produced by Ubisoft for Microsoft Windows and the GameCube.
Ready? The GameCube, not Nintendo 64, the GameCube.
GameCube.
Hey.
And then in 2008, Ubisoft acquired perpetual rights to use Clancy's name and works for video games and other related media, including the books and films.
You said it was 2008 when they did that?
2008, yeah.
Huh. Oh, you know what? Let me see something, because I was going to look at something. Let's see real quick.
So yeah, the Hunt for the Red October, which is the second one, it came out in 1990, was produced for the NES, the Game Boy, and the Super Nintendo. Hunt for Red October, actually there were two in 1990. I think these are probably all the same game, to be honest.
They probably are.
This one was the Atari and like DOS, and I don't know what the ZX Spectrum is, but it sounds like more of the like Atari-based systems. A lot of the early ones were more computer-based. MS-DOS, IBM PC. So, I mean, a lot of these were very early on Windows-based, and then obviously GameCube and some of the Rainbow Six once those started coming out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these ones that you've already mentioned, you're right. No. Have I ever played them? No, and I probably wouldn't, because especially being on DOS, unless you had a very old computer and you had that kind of software, I highly doubt you're going to find these games unless they found it to basically remastered it and do it that way. But
well, I mean, the first Rainbow Six came out on the N64, PS1, and Dreamcast.
Dreamcast.
I still don't know anybody who had a Dreamcast, but
I believe I knew of one person. It was in my old neighborhood. that actually did have one. I think it was either because it was either that or a Sega. I don't remember which one it was, but I thought it was a Dreamcast.
It probably was a Sega.
I don't know. Maybe it was. I mean, personally, there's just some game systems that, we hear about or you maybe looked at as a kid and maybe you had it, but then you're like, well, I either couldn't afford a Nintendo or I had to either get that or a Sega or maybe get a knockoff of that. But
see, the problem is with a lot of these, I'm looking at the Rainbow Six games and a lot of these, I never had a PS. Well, I think I maybe had a PS1, but I don't ever remember having a PS1.
So I actually had this conversation with my dad too. He told me that we had a PS1. I don't remember it. It was probably when, again, I was very little and I didn't have a chance to actually be able to play it. Because my first actual console that both my brother and I had together and we did it together was really the PS2 when it really came out in like that early or really 2000, So I remember having that and I remember playing it, but my dad had a Super Nintendo, so we had the capability to play that, and that's what we did for a while. But we never got it was much later until we got the original Xbox, of course, because that came out later, and then it was the PS3 and so on. So basically all that stuff. But you're right. Having the PS1, having all the the Nintendo 64, having all that. It would have been my dad. So if he had it, great. If he didn't, then I don't remember having it. But you're right. Unfortunately, unless you had those particular systems, I had a Game Boy. Oh, I had a fucking Game Boy, and I had a Game Boy Advance. I had all the fucking Game Boys basically from A to Z here. But that was what I mostly did. But a lot of the other stuff, yeah, it's Windows, your old school computers, right? So Windows 98, right? Or the early 2000 and XP and Vista and all this other stupid shit. Yeah, you could probably most of the time I would say a lot of these games were more really PC than your consoles, because I think depending on your family, I would say that most people, they probably would get a console, but generally speaking, they might just have a regular old monitor and give you the old school fucking, computer that basically would work or really wouldn't work, depending on if your floppy disk or your fucking CD-ROM might have worked. I don't know. Anyways, guys, I'm just going down that rabbit hole. But yeah, no, I would say a lot of these games moving forward, though, like I said, I don't know about looking when you were just saying about Rainbow Six, I didn't know about the Covert Ops Essentials, the Rogue Spear takedown missions in Korea.
Well, if you actually look at them, the Rainbow Six Eagle Watch was for PS1, and the Rogue Spear was also PS1, but it's also Dreamcast. But Rogue Spear Urban Operations was Dreamcast and Windows. The rest of them, Covert Ops Essentials, Rogue Spear, Blackthorn.
It honestly wasn't.
Those are all Windows.
Well, I was going to say it wasn't until really looking at Lone Wolf and Raven Shield and shit like that. That's when it started to kind of push to the other systems in a sense and actually.
Yeah, PS1 and then Raven Shield was Xbox, PS2, GameCube, and Black Arrow was Xbox. But then you still have Windows. You have 2 mobile phones, which 2003 I'm kind of surprised at.
Especially because the flip phones don't do shit. And that's what a big time before the whole iPhone push, well before the iPhone push at that time.
Rainbow Six Lockdown, which was PS2, Xbox, GameCube, Critical Hour, Xbox.
So then this is where I would say Rainbow Six Vegas. That is really when you see
360, PS3,
mobile phone, PSP, and then that's like I said. So basically, and this is where you see this because I know Matt and I are seeing this, but you see Rainbow Six Vegas and Vegas 2 never would have played Vanguard. Rainbow Six Siege was the only next one after this one, and this is where a lot of people are still playing it now. They're still playing this game.
I honestly don't like this one because it was it's an online only reboot. So it's
no, but what they should, like I said, personally, what they should have done is maybe made a Rainbow Six Vegas 3 or a version of that, and they would have done an online of that. I would have fucking bought it day one. It would have been.
It would have been great. I think what the draw to Tom Clancy's games, and honestly, I don't think I've played a lot of Rainbow Six, to be honest with you, but a lot of the other ones outside of Rainbow Six, I've played a lot of them, and I think what the draw is comparing to Call of Duty.
Keep going.
Is let's get serious. At the end of the day, you're still a dude playing a game by yourself, But I think the draw here is like with Call of Duty, you're playing strictly online because like when you're playing the single player modes, like you're playing just you. But like when you're playing online, like you might have a crew and you might be doing like collaborative, matches, but you're just doing matches. That's it. And a lot of these games outside of like Siege and Extraction,
Don't go on. Yeah,
they are, you're going on missions, you're doing things collaboratively. Like when we get to talk about The Division, you almost can't do a lot of those missions unless you ask for help and you have other people join you or you join them so that you can actually complete these missions because they're so tough. Like you need those other people.
Right. And this is where, like I said, with certain games, because I know we can talk about Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, that kind of stuff. I'm just going to draw back here for a second. Like one of the first games that really, and this is how I remember this too. So we always talk about how Matt and I ever met, we joke around a little bit, but one of the very first games that we did start to play besides Dead Island was also Wildlands when we were doing it.
That was a fun one.
It was a great one. Yeah. So Wildlands being, it was new at the time. We were like, oh yeah, let's play it, man. This was probably one of the better ones, especially like newer, I would say. And the reason why I say this is because you could play by yourself and it's fine, it's whatever. But like when you had a buddy, like it was fucking great. And you had two knuckleheads and you were just like, fuck off. Like just let us be us too. But like, the favorite part about it was like, yes, you could go on missions, and I know that it actually, the best part about it, this is where Ubisoft did it right, was that if your buddy and you were on the same page, now granted, if you were ahead of your buddy, then it's kind of whatever, but like if you did it together all the time, you two could literally, it was like synced up. So it was not like you had to wait for this guy to catch up, but no, it was like, if you both did it at the same time, like it was going to sync together in that moment. And it wasn't like you had to do like Far Cry and it was like,
oh yeah,
well, I got to go on yours, I got to go on yours. Like it didn't matter.
That was the best part of these Ghost Recon games was it wasn't like Far Cry where, if I was joining John's, game, it wouldn't save for me. No, with the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon games, both saved.
Right. And so wherever you guys are at, like you did it. And it was like basically syncing together. And it wasn't like, okay, well, so I'm going to go on yours to catch up on yours. And then hopefully later on, we're going to do the same exact thing for me. Because that's literally what it was.
We'll redo the mission. But if like we were playing Far Cry and we did like 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 missions,
then I'd have to do this. He'd have to go on mine.
Like, okay, well we just did these 8, so now when you join me, now I'll have to do these 8.
The exact same thing that you just did.
But then if I started playing and I'm doing all these missions by myself, and then John comes in and joins me now if I did 8 more missions, now I have to go back and do the original 8 plus the 8 that I just did, and then he's gonna have to go back and do
yeah, it's just the same shit. It's the constant bullshit that you had to basically keep doing. And so that's why with Wildlands, when both him and I were playing, it was just like, you got to join in and you both were synced up and it was great. And actually a lot of the times this is why I know we talked about this a long time ago. This is actually one of the games where, Matt was notorious for, I was like, all right, man. I said, we got this compound. We're going to go in. We're going to go in stealth. I said, you take out this guy. I'll take out this guy.
Like, I'm totally going in quiet.
And then the next fucking word out of his goddamn mouth is, fuck it. Let's fucking blow him up. And this motherfucker takes a rocket launcher out. He's like, fuck it. And he's like, bam. And then he just starts shooting. And I'm like, and then there's like 50. Hold on. I'm going to tell you. There's like 50 motherfuckers coming right after us. And I'm like, and you couldn't have just fucking waited. Yeah, fucking bastard. Like, you didn't want to just wait. No, he's like, nah, fuck this shit. And he's like, just go. And I'm like, you had a chance to be quiet. He's like, well, fuck it. It's going to take too long. And I'm like, it depends, man. I said, is it going to take longer to kill these 50 fuckers, or is it going to take longer for us to just go silent?
Hey, like prom night, I'm going in hard.
Wow. He just fucking went there, boys and girls. I don't know what to say. That's my co-host here. No, but like, it's just, these games it was so great because this is what we were talking about with co-op. Right now, I'm not saying like even Far Cry, they did great with co-op. These are the kinds of games that I know that this is what they do really well, and this is why the online portion of it is great, because like, yeah, it's still the campaign and you're still doing it together, but there was also missions that were still real world, kind of like you can do it online and do it together in that sense, but like it just, everything basically synced. And just like even with Breakpoint was another one, same idea to a degree, but it just more very futuristic and a lot of things that you could do. But like, it was just, these games really created that atmosphere of like what, basically of how co-op games should be.
Yeah,
you know, like this is the standard. And this is where I was saying, you know, I would say Rainbow Six was really the platform for the online portion of like multiplayer. So like they can have it all day for that, because that, to me, unless they do an open world like this, you know, that's what they should be doing, you know, hopefully with future games. But like this is the ultimate open world co-op games like you can play, because you could customize your weapons, you can customize your character. You know, you had levels, you had all this, and it was just, there was so much you can do, and not everyone was the same. And that was the best part about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me kind of break this down a little bit. So, you know, the equipment that was featured in Wildlands is based on weapons and gear that is commonly used by military forces around the world. So there's that fact. It does have some original equipment like the drones that can be used to tag enemies, show objectives and whatnot. But this game was the first entry to feature the open world environment, so that it consists of 9 different types of terrain, like mountains, forest, desert, salt flats, and a dynamic weather system, as well as a day and night cycle.
Which, I mean, I'm not saying it like that. I mean, now this is 2017 we're talking about. This is like, this wasn't that long ago, Matt. Like, we're talking 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this is the first game to do that says a lot about what they have done and the accomplishments that they've made. And so, like, that's why when we have played, like, unless they can get to that level again, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, now granted, these games they have definitely hit the mark. The problem is can they, you know, for let's say the next generation of games and so forth, like,
yeah,
right now, yes, Extraction is the newest one. And I know we're going to talk about it here shortly, but like, it's the most shittiest game that they could have ever created for any Tom Clancy game.
It's not good. It's not good. But I mean, the way that Ghost Recon, at least Wildlands and Breakpoint were set up, I mean, you have your main missions, you have your side missions, but you know, it's like you can jump on a dirt bike, a helicopter, or a dune buggy. You can get into people's car. I mean, much like, you know, the GTA, you know, you can kind of just get into any kind of vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what it was. I think like one of the more difficulty parts of playing the game was driving around. And I think Breakpoint was worse with this. As soon as somebody sees you, you have like 100 people on you.
Oh no, I absolutely agree with that, because I know in Wildlands it was the same idea, but yes, I know you had to basically, so if like you were going into a compound, like you had to basically park. So it was like almost like a mile away from the damn place, just so that they wouldn't see you, because this is where, like I was saying about Matt's notorious, like, oh, hey, fuck it, let's go in. Like, you had to basically, when I say you had to be quiet, you basically had to make sure you were quiet, because if you weren't quiet, that shit was going to go south.
And you
could not, 3 seconds.
You could not play. I mean, you could not do some of these, like, if you did it during the day, it was that much more complicated, because the enemies could see you 100%. So it was like you had to go in some of these missions at night because you had a tactical advantage.
Well, and that's why the best part about it is, like, you know, when you were basically able to, you know, switch day and night. I mean, granted, by taking a nap. I mean, that's basically what we did. You just basically set a timer for however long you want to take a nap for. You just do it that way. But, you know, but it was nice where you could be like, hey, you know what, we're just going to, like, you and I were like, all right, let's sync up. Let's, you know, go to this time. And then we do that. And then basically we're like, all right, cool, get in the helicopter. Let's fly out there, you know, do whatever. Or sometimes he'd be like, all right, I'm going to fly. No, I'm going to drive. And like, that was the best part. So like, if you're on the same, the only shitty part, and this is where I'm thinking about it, is like, if you're on the same team together and you're doing it together, there's only so much distance you can have between the two. So if let's say Matt's flying and I'm on a motorcycle and I'm just driving, If I'm not going as quick as he is in a certain amount of time, it will pull you, and it will basically,
you will disappear and you will appear next to the person
that's further away.
That's further away. I don't know if you knew this or not, John, but did you know that the creative director of the game
for which one, Breakpoint
or Wildlands?
Okay,
has said that the AI of the game is unscripted and has their own motivations and agendas.
No, I did not. Are you shitting me? So they made it so that the AI does whatever the fuck they want?
Basically, so when you're going in and you're doing some of these missions, like you're taking over a base or whatever, the AI of the, not just your, if it's just me playing by myself, because you do have, there's 4 people altogether. So if I'm playing, there's 3 AI people.
Well, yeah.
If you and I are playing, there's 2. So those 2 people.
Well, technically, you could send those 2 away. It doesn't.
Yeah, you can command them to do certain things.
Right.
But yeah, everybody that's in the base, calling them AI is not really what they are.
NPC.
Because they're not AI. They're programmed characters in the game.
Right.
But their programming is unscripted, so it's not like, this guy is scripted to run to the gate and start shooting. It's unscripted, so he could run to the gate, or he could run over there, or he could run away.
So theoretically, everyone's game is different because it's an endless possibility of what can happen.
100%.
That's kind of, so that's interesting because...
That's actually really amazing.
Well, it's amazing, and I would say that should be the standard for even most games, or all games, really, because... if you can find a way to make it so that it's unrealistic, well, I'm not saying unrealistic, but so not predictable in any direction that they go, and even just maybe what they say or what they do, the game is so endless that you could, you could have millions of possibilities, and there's so many things that you could do differently.
And you could you could turn off your AI teammates too in the setting. So if you didn't want the other people with you and you wanted to do kind of your...
Normally that's what I do.
I'm a Rambo lone wolf kind of guy.
Oh, well, both of us were Rambo lone wolves because those guys, I hated them. I do.
To be honest, I always use the teammates because even though they were kind of cannon fodder,
the only times I
would use them, I would be like, yo, rush in there, do your thing. I'm going to stay back here, and I'm going to take out the guys that you don't.
I use them as bait. That's kind of what you're saying. Is you use them as bait. I kind of did the same thing from time to time. I just was more
because I know if I go down, and I disable them, I'm going to have to do all what I just did all over again. So at least if I keep them active, one of those guys is going to run up and pick me back up, and I can go back and keep playing.
And I get what you're saying.
They were helpful with the Predator. I'm just saying.
Even though I still don't know how you did it on your own with those fuckers, because I tried it multiple times with those, and those idiots did not know what the fuck they were doing. So I don't know. All I'm saying is that, these games, whether you look at the Ghost Recon or even the Rainbow Six, they have their own distinctive, characteristics. I know you probably didn't play a lot of the Rainbow Six, but real quick is I'll look it up real quick. But, Vegas, I'm going to see if there's something interesting about it, because I know whenever I played it, it was one of those games that...
So real quick about the Predator and Wildlands.
Sorry, then go ahead.
This actually says, due to an expiration in the licensing rights with 20th Century Fox, the content's no longer available as of December of 2020.
Son of a bitch.
So the Predator is no longer... I'm assuming it's no longer in Wildlands anymore. Or you can at least no longer find it. Obviously, it's not part of 20th Century Fox anymore because it's part of Disney, and I'm sure they're not going to let some random Ubisoft get it. But yeah, so their licensing rights for Predator expired, and the content's no longer available. So,
see, I thought I would find something interesting about the Vegas kind of series, or at least Vegas 2 or something like that. I'm not seeing... it's the first game to do this. Well, it clearly didn't have that, which I was kind of surprised. But what I do remember was
for Vegas,
it's one of those games that I think this was okay. So actually, let's see. So Rainbow Six Vegas was originally from Ubisoft Montreal. which I found that interesting. But these games, I would say, like, this was like kind of the pinnacle. Yeah, because this one right here, it said it was released for 2006 in November for the Xbox 360 and December for the Windows, whatever. And then June, I guess I didn't realize it was in June of 2007 it came out for PS3. But anyways, the biggest things about this is where, like I said, this is where online was really starting to form. It was around this time when online was really coming about, and this is the perfect time for this game to kind of like show that online presence, because when people say, "Oh, I remember Modern Warfare 2," from 2006, 2007 timeframe, when online was kind of like becoming what it is now. When you had to sit there and had those ugly ass headphones and just the weird shit that you'd have back then, but like. That was like your first time of like, holy shit, I don't have to go over to a buddy's house and play the game with him. I can actually I have a system, he has a system, great, we can sync up and we can play. So that was kind of like this game where this was competing with like Call of Duty and some of the other games that were doing the online portion. Yeah. This game, I think it might personally, I'm not saying that, I know a lot of people could say, well, Modern Warfare 2 is, blah, 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 online. I'm not saying that it wasn't good for its time back then. What I am saying is this was a different kind of game that I think most people can agree that this, and during that time frame, me personally, this was like on par with the original, like Modern Warfare kind of like 2 and that kind of series of games, because yeah, you had I would say this had a better probably campaign, in my opinion, than it would have in the original Modern Warfare. I know a lot of people can say whatever, but like, I just know that Tom Clancy, when it comes to his games, like he does a better job of telling a story. I'm not saying that the Call of Duty at the time didn't. It's just he does it a lot better because there's more to it and there's more involvement.
There's more meat. There's more technical details and yeah. I mean, there's just more to it. And I think looking at some of the stuff, I think one of the things that kind of sticks out to me is, I don't think I've ever used this in a game, but I've seen other games. Maybe it's other Tom Clancy games you can do this on, but you can actually give voice commands on the 360 and the PS3 to your
teammates, yeah,
your teammates, but you can no longer hear, obviously, like.
Well, so like one of the earliest games I can think of that did that was like, and this was well before online, was like SOCOM, Navy SEALs. That was a prime example of like, hey, Bishop, go over here. And you're telling him, and now that's a pain in the ass because all you're doing is like telling all your guys to do shit as you're basically fighting your enemies. But
right.
In this game, yes. And the other thing that I just remember too, I forgot, and I know that Call of Duty, I would say recently has been doing it more, but like this is also one of the earliest games I can think of that had, it had a rappelling system. Like, so you guys, like if you were on like a, top of building, you're like rappelling down. Like, so this was in game that you could do that too. Like, I believe inside the multiplayer, but I remember like in the stories, like, yes, the ability to go up and down, like while you're shooting. Like, so that was the thing. This is what I remember it now, cause I'm now reading this. It was, so you could be in midair and literally shooting inside of a building, shooting the enemies, doing the campaign and stuff. So like, there's not many games I would say like besides this that had that capability at that time, because in Modern Warfare 2, you weren't doing that shit. You weren't fucking rappelling. You weren't doing any of that. Like no. This is a game where you did all that. You did it. And it was like it was funny. One of the most powerful weapons in the game was, if I can remember correctly, it was like the shotgun. Like the shotgun was like, holy shit. Like, guess what? You're going to die instantly because you actually, it was actually realistic enough where, you look at Modern Warfare, it's like, the 50 cal is the most powerful weapon, even though I think it's still the most stupidest weapon in the game. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like something like that. But it's like this game really focused, I believe, on like the weapons and the customization too, where it felt different. It wasn't like yes, I'm not saying like with Modern Warfare and that series, you really couldn't customize anything. You could customize your weapon, but it's not like you could really customize the camo and do kind of get more technical in it. It was just more like, okay, we're going to have the weapon and we're going to go. Now, granted, again, there's so many differences I can compare all day, but like at the end of the day, I just think personally this game for its time, and this is why I believe it should be remastered, is one of those games that I think if you remastered it today and you fucking put it on there and they said, hey, we're going to do it right now, I guarantee you there'd be a following, and I guarantee you there'd be a lot of people being like, fuck yeah, we're going back to the old ways, and actually do it. Like, and Ubisoft could do this? Holy shit, man. Oh my God. I guarantee you they would make, I'd fucking buy it. I would buy it in a heartbeat, or I'd find a way to buy it because I'd want to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think people are playing more of the, online multiplayer. So, like, a lot of the games like Ghost Recon and the Division games are not as popular because they're obviously online multiplayer, but they're co-op. It's like Borderlands. It's like,
yeah,
you're joining an open world, but you're joining other people and you're completing missions, as opposed to like the Call of Duty style where you're going online and playing in matches and playing other people. And I think that has more of the appeal. Not for me. I hate that shit, but
I know you do. We can go on from that, but yeah.
I mean, for Ghost Recon and the Division, I mean, those are definitely like in my wheelhouse. Like I like the gameplay, the tactical shooters, but it's an open world, and it's more about completing missions and actually doing objectives, and not just like getting our asses handed to us because that's what we're doing, like over and over and over and over again.
Hold on a second. So think about some of the most successful games of all time, right? All of them are mostly open world, right? You would have to have an open world concept, because if you're just doing strictly missions and that's it. Like, now granted, that is the Call of Duty way, like their campaigns is just missions. There is no, now recently they've decided that they were going to do an open world like mission, and it was just like an open world concept, but it's not the same because it's not that same style.
No, I mean, and it's not even really. I mean, the last entry of Call of Duty, it wasn't really an open world either. It was, you're still on a mission. It just, they gave you the option of like, you can either go in stealth or you can go in loud, but you can complete the mission as you see fit. Like, it wasn't like, okay, well, we need you to get from A to B, and you need to get this before you get to B. It was like, no, you have to go from A to B, but however you get there,
good luck.
It's up to you, which is for Call of Duty allowing, hey, thanks for allowing us to do that. It's like is great, but like their campaigns, I think, are still very, very heavily produced, and they could very well do something like what Ghost Recon is doing. Make it Absolutely. A co-op campaign. Make it like very stylized in the Call of Duty style, and still be relevant. And you can do your updates, and you can make it a thing, and keep your online multiplayer a completely separate entity.
I mean, technically, that's what they did with because it's not even. So you notice from like the Call of Duty like Modern Warfare, like the remastered one, from that game up until now, which is the Modern Warfare 3, and now, of course, Black Ops 6 is now coming out. They've basically made their own app, just called Call of Duty, and it's nothing else. It just has the entries. And then all you do really on there is just like, oh, do you want to buy the game? You can buy it right here. It just basically, you know what I mean? So, but it's like all in one spot. I mean, I get the concept, but it's like, I think in my opinion, you're just getting to the point where it's just becoming overrated. It's just not like, is it worth it?
I'm going to say this. We talked about this earlier.
You know what, Matt? Hold on. Before you go on. So I was going to say this this is right. It was at 2:30. This is August 31st today, boys and girls. Okay. August 31st. Now, granted, I know the episode's not going to come out until a little while from now, but on August 31st, 2:30, this is what Matt said.
I will say this. I have purchased pretty much almost all of the Call of Duties up until now. Yep,
I've pretty much been right where they're. Well, yeah, we played a lot together.
I've pretty much purchased them all, and I honestly, I think I play them for maybe 4 to 6 months, and then they sit in my library, and then eventually the 9,000 megabyte file that sits on my PlayStation 4 ends up getting deleted because I want to get other games. And that's the way it was for, World War II. That's how it is for Vanguard.
Cold War, yep, Cold War, and then Modern Warfare 2, and then
Vanguard, So I mean, it's pretty much right up to par with all the other ones. And I probably at this point will not buy a Call of Duty game ever.
There you go, boys and girls. He said never, ever, ever again.
Not to mention they probably won't even be out for PlayStation 4 anyway, so it won't matter.
So actually, we're going to start a GoFundMe page for Matt. It says, help Matt with PS5. So if you'd like to help Matt with the PS5, get on board. I'd love for him to finally get on board with this, but go ahead.
So I do want to talk quickly about Breakpoint, even though, we did play Breakpoint. That one was PS4, Windows, Xbox One. I don't know what Stadia is. I'm sure that's streaming.
Probably.
But like Breakpoint, it was pretty much, a follow-up to Wildlands. I think it was set 6 years after the events of Wildlands. And, it is kind of the same idea. I mean, you have the 4, Ghost Recon, they call them Nomad. That's the team that's in Breakpoint.
No. I think Nomad is the leader of that group.
Well, Nomad's fire team. That's
yeah.
So, the one thing that was kind of cool was the antagonist in the game was Ghost Lieutenant Colonel Cole Walker, who was John Bernthal. If you remember, John.
I do know who John Bernthal is, the guy who's, well, one, he's been in Walking Dead, but two, he's also the guy that plays the Punisher as well in the Netflix series of the Punisher. But yeah.
Yeah, so he is kind of the main antagonist in the game. But like I said, it's pretty much like the same, it kind of does follow, what happened in Wildlands, but it, obviously it continues.
Yeah, I mean, I think it mentions it a little bit, but it's really taking on its own story in what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, these have more to do with, like, I think in this one, like, the drones were fucking relentless in this game.
The drones were dumb because if you didn't take them out, these fuckers were going to follow you.
You remember every time one of those fucking planes flew over us, like we had to basically...
we ducked. We were like, fuck, is this plane going to fucking drop bombs on us? So what are we doing here?
Well, no, because every time, so there was this like kind of drone plane that flew over every so often.
Well, but they would drop bombs and shit, though. That's the problem.
They wouldn't drop bombs, but what they would do is they would reveal our location.
I thought they did. I thought one of them did. I didn't. Did they not?
No, those were the smaller drones. And that was the problem was if the plane revealed their location, soon we had people rolling up on us. And then, because the whole game revolves around these like drones that...
it's like a hive network in a sense.
Yeah, John Bernthal's character is kind of creating... They're also what's protecting this like area.
Well, it's a giant island, really, but yeah.
So nobody can leave. But yeah, I mean, it was like that stupid plane, and we're like, get down, get down.
Get down right now. Because we know we're going to die.
Yeah. And then I would crawl right up, and our characters would always be glitched into each other.
It'd be more like I'd be in his ass or he'd be in mine. It just depends, but...
Why are your feet going through my body, John?
Well, and you're right. I think the game, just like with Wildlands, it was one of those things where, when you're, especially to me, like it was cool when you finally did some of the missions and you got into this, like it was basically inside of the giant volcano, but like there was different areas where you could go to, like, again, to like customize your character, to like, buy the different weapons and to do all these different things. But like, I mean, when I said the customization on this was crazy, you literally... I don't think there was many people that had the same shit. Well, I would say there was common things, but they could always change it up. You could literally get down to the fucking camo of like the different boots and your weapons and all this shit, and was never the same.
There were 4 major character classes, but each class had like their own abilities. One of them was Panther, which was oriented towards stealth. I had never used Panther, but.
I did. Actually, it was kind of cool.
So Panther was one that was oriented towards stealth, and they were able to throw smoke bombs. But you were able to switch these classes. So if you were going somewhere where you knew, like, oh, the shit's going to hit the fan once we get in there, like, maybe Panther wasn't the right choice. You needed something that had either more offense or more defense. Like, you could switch between, what you wanted to do as far as a class, which was really, really cool. But I think we played a mode... in this game. And I think we got within the first, maybe 20 minutes to a half an hour. And as soon as we encountered the very first one, and this thing basically chased us around for 20 minutes. And then we were like, nope, fuck this. We're out.
Yep. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Without even saying it, I know exactly which one you're talking about. But go ahead.
So they released a DLC, so a downloadable content for the Terminator on Breakpoint, and these were kind of the things that like the Tom Clancy games did. Some of these, like the Ghost Recon, so the Wildlands had Predator, but they also had like different themed DLCs. Breakpoint had like Project Titan, Terminator. They had like their Deep State, their Red Patriot, which is based on the book, obviously.
Oh yeah.
That one was the Deep State. Actually, was a tie-in to Splinter Cell. That one actually had Michael Ironside reprising his role as Sam Fisher. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I do remember that. Yep.
So that one was kind of cool. But yeah, the Terminator. Like we were like, hey, why don't we? You know what? Why don't we just try it? Like, why don't we just go in? Honestly, try it. If it's not good, then all we can do is like we'll just get out of there. We'll just keep playing.
Honestly, I would have rather faced the fucking Predator. I'm sorry. Yeah, I would have rather faced the Predator than versus this fucker, especially the amount of times.
Oh, and it's funny because like they give you a special rifle. Okay, this is like a pulse rifle,
which really doesn't do shit for you
because they made it so like you have to hit them in a like one small, minuscule little tiny spot in their chest, which is you have to keep hitting it over and over and over again until it gets exposed, and then once you hit it that final time, they explode.
Okay, but how many times did we have to try to even come close to this thing?
This thing doesn't flinch, it doesn't move, it just keeps walking towards you, and like I think we ended up like in some kind of a building.
It was like a house or a hut or something, but yeah.
And I think it like stopped tracking us and we were able to like get away, but then like we encountered another one and this thing nearly fucking killed us and we were like,
I'm done.
We're done. Yeah, we're done.
Well, and it was
so hard, dude.
Honestly, like I said, like it was interesting that they came out with that DLC and it was great and all, but like it was just like I said, I would have rather fucking go after the goddamn Predator again, even though it was that one stupid mission. Like it was just that one thing left. Because honestly, like that would have been easier than trying to first even one of these fuckers, let alone the three.
And the difference between I think Wildlands and this one was like we had to start this. Like we had to actually start this mission where the Predator in the game you actually had to track the Predator. So you had to actually like
do a few missions.
You had to you had to listen. You had to like look around, and there were like little clues that you could see. And once you got to a place like, because there were like it was laying corpses all around, and then there were like the bodies that were hanging from the trees, and so you had things that you were like looking at, and then when you heard the noise, you were like, oh shit, like it's here.
Well, not only that, I think the worst part about it is like you start to look at how. I'd say Wildlands and then this, it was like Wildlands I think with the missions wise, I mean, most of it, I would say it was really fluid. It was just like, you do it and then you're like, it'll pop you back up to wherever you were last time. And then, you can go do it would, granted, it would take you a bit to get there, but like in this game, especially in Breakpoint, I mean, if the mission was halfway across the goddamn map, there is no fast travel, if I'm not mistaken, if I can remember correctly. Or there might have been. I think it was like you chose to do that.
You would never let me drive.
Oh, my God. Now, I'm going to tell you, I understand in real life it's different, but like fucking the game, especially in Wildlands, oh, my God, he was horrendous. Like literally, he would drive. I mean, we're not even just talking Tom Clancy games. I'm just talking about driving in general in any game.
I have crashed many a car.
Well, the problem is, oh, my God. I remember he was like, okay, let's get in this like Warthog little vehicle that we would get into.
I mean, it got so bad. Like when I'm like, we're trying to go to a mission, like, and we need to get there
quickly.
This guy over here that's sitting across from me.
You're going to pick on me now, but go ahead.
He is in said helicopter.
Oh, I knew this was going to
And I'm climbing in, and I'm like, I'm sitting on like the lower rung things, whatever those things are called. I'm sitting on one of those, and this motherfucker over here decides I'm just going to jump out because we're right over the place. But do you think he tells me that?
No.
Do you think he says anything that he has left the helicopter? I'm outside the helicopter, so I don't automatically see. If I was sitting inside, my character would have automatically switched, and I would have been driving said helicopter.
It's true.
But I was outside. See this? I was outside the helicopter.
No, because the best part is he's falling, and he's like, fuck.
So now the helicopter is like, it's just falling, and then it starts spinning, and I'm like,
Oh, shit.
I gotta jump. And he did this over and over and over again.
No, it's because of all the damn times that you would drive, and then basically the amount of rollovers we've had, the amount of blowing up the vehicles, the amount of...
Oh, so you decide you're just going to kill me?
No, I did not kill you. No, hold on. Most of the time you got out of it. The problem is...
Because I had to parachute out of it when it was
But hold on, let's try this again. And how many times did you basically take the car, and especially on a ramp, and you were just like, no, and then you get out of the fucking car yourself and don't tell me anything, and then I'm fucking sitting there like, fuck. And I don't know what to do.
I jumped shit off cliffs.
Exactly. He was doing that. So again, we both did it to each other. Both of us can't say that we haven't done one or the other.
All right, let's talk some Division, because I absolutely, for the Tom Clancy games, outside of like Wildlands, because I do love Wildlands.
Which is actually something we should really consider, trying to get back on at some point.
I do, especially the Division 2. I love playing the Division 2. I got kind of slower into the Division, and this one was really, really different from what Ghost Recon was doing, because this one was like online only. It was action role playing game. It's actually set in New York City, kind of in the future. There's a viral pandemic that kills, most of humanity.
Oh.
And it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic kind of cityscape. And you're playing as a, cooperative, I think with like, you can play like with 3 other people, I believe, in this one. In Division 2, there's 4. But you're doing missions, you're completing things. Like there's other types of like factions that you're trying to, go up against. And the whole thing is open world, which makes it even better. But you progress the same way as you get experience points and all that stuff. But this was like a smallpox based virus that was planted on banknotes, John.
That's fucked up.
And it sweeps through New York City, and the disease is known as green poison or the dollar flu.
That's an interesting name for it, but okay.
Because they put it on dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bill, y'all. Yeah.
That's why I don't use money, people.
He's like currency. He's like crypto. That's what I use.
So it kind of decimated the population. Some places were put under quarantine. So the government activates these sleeper agents called the Division, or they were Strategic Homeland Division.
Almost sounds like SHIELD. Connections? What?
So that's basically what the game is. And, it was such a good game. Like Division 2 obviously was an update to this, and when you're talking like customization, like you can customize pretty much everything in the game. Like you can add components to not just your gun, but you can add components like to your armor, your pants, your shoes, for God's sakes. Like you can customize your equipment and make completely different builds. Like you can make a tank build, you can make a DPS build, which is your damage per second build.
Yeah.
You can make, builds that are more of a healing build or tech build, because a lot of the, things that you have and the skills that you can do in the game, like some of the builds that you can do really depend on what your skill level is. Where if you just want to shoot your gun and make the most damage, like your DPS build is best, and you can customize everything to make sure that happens. Kind of your glass cannon, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, and I know I played really the Division 2 with you. I never actually got to. I technically never played the first one, and I know you were like, well, I mean, you can play the second one. It's not a big deal. But like, I agree. I mean, it's a different style of game. It's, it is that open world concept. It's, the only thing that me personally, and this is just what I'm saying here. I guess I was so used to playing like, again, the Rainbow Six, the Wildlands, the Ghost Recon Breakpoint, like those were the kinds of games that I was like, I'd like that military tactical kind of a feel. I'm not saying that it didn't do that, because there was some things about it that did, but it was more like, it's almost like if you're taking, like I said, I was thinking of like The Walking Dead and like that kind of style of like, okay, we're just going to like throw shit together. We're going to see if we can make it work, kind of a, deal kind of a game. I don't know. And I'm not get me wrong. I mean, granted, I understand, because I'm reading some of the notes, like it is one of the best selling games that they've made, but it's like, I don't know. I guess it's just a style of game that I guess, maybe I really haven't, like, just like Borderlands, I'm going to say it, man. Just like I haven't really given it a chance, to really kind of get into that more and more. But like, it is a good game, because I know. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely, when you're, and it's not it's not zombies. It's not like anything weird. Like,
no, it's other people.
It's you're going up against other people, and that's the problem, is like you're going up against other factions. And unlike, Wildlands, where, you're kind of going in and you can kind of do your own thing, you can, in a sense, on this, except you're going on, particular missions where, I have to go into this place to do this. But how you get to that point is up to you. And that's where you have these different builds, and you actually can choose your different classes. And this is where Division 2, I think, shines, where, if you have 4 DPS builds, they might all die because they don't have like a tank or a skill person. That's where you need to be like really tactical with like who you're bringing in and who's on your team. Because if you have a skill person already and you have a tank, well, yeah, that person might do a lot of damage with like the drones and the different things. And your tank might be able to soak up a lot of that damage. But who's actually doing a majority of the damage? So that's where you kind of need to be tactical and figure out like what you're kind of doing. Obviously, sometimes playing like the multiplayer and inviting or going into other people's matches, you do have that problem with people just like running ahead and defeating like everything. So by the time like the rest of the team gets there, it's like, I got that guy. So there's not much left. And then obviously when we were playing, the crew that we were playing with at the time always wanted to go in the dark zone, and fuck the dark zone. I don't, this is why I don't play DMZ.
I mean, well, DMZ is different I guess maybe you're right. I guess it is similar to what that is. But like what Matt's saying is that, when it comes to DMZ, it's, you're going in and, whatever weapons you have in that moment, like that's what you have. Now, the thing is if you don't extract, or if another actual player kills you, because again,
you'll literally lose everything.
You're going to lose everything, and you're going to have to wait however amount of time or whatever.
Well, you lose what you
have,
what you had when you got into the dark, not what you had before you got into the dark zone, but you lose the stuff that you picked up in the dark zone. But the whole idea of going in there is that the contaminated loot that's in the dark zone, which that's kind of, the dark zone is where everything is basically contaminated, is meant to be more valuable and rare loot. So that when you go into the dark zone, you're looting and you're finding crates and you're finding stuff off of enemies. And then you're meant to like call the helicopter and attach your bag to the helicopter and then basically get the fuck out of there.
Right.
But most of the time, like it becomes like Call of Duty, and not Call of Duty. It becomes like GTA. Yeah, that's what the dark zone has become, because the dark zone basically has become that GTA. Like as soon as you get in there, And it's like the
Red Dead or any of that.
It's like DMZ. Well, not DMZ so much, but the other version that's on Vanguard. I think it's Vanguard, right? Because it's not Modern Warfare 3. That's the DMZ.
No, Modern Warfare 2. It would have been Modern Warfare 2.
Modern Warfare 2, yeah. So when you're doing that, it's like basically people are just hanging out in the dark zone for new people to come in so that they can basically just
take your shit,
steal your shit, and then
exfil whenever they want.
So, I absolutely love the Division games. Like, they're my favorites. I was actually thinking of going back to playing Division 2.
I think me, you, Matt, I think we really should look at either honestly, I think we should just play Wildlands because it's been so long, and I think it'd be kind of cool to just. I mean, granted, we don't have to worry about the Predator anymore. He's like, "Well, I still have my stuff," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, fuck you."
Well, I probably don't because if they don't have the licensing, I probably don't have that shit.
So
anymore,
basically, then that's great because then we could just restart and we could just forget like it ever happened. So
let me talk about the terrible one.
Oh,
because
he bought it, I didn't. Or sorry, let's.
I actually didn't buy it because it was actually on. It was on a. I think they first put it on the PlayStation monthly games, and then the PS Plus membership has it on there. But this is where they made a cooperative multiplayer game where the players, and this is, I think, this is the one freaking problem, unless you have a crew.
Yep.
The players must work together. And if you play Call of Duty...
Yep. We're talking about working together.
Nobody fucking works together.
Not a chance, especially in zombies, but go ahead.
But they must work together and defeat like parasite-like aliens. And this is like the problem because like you in the game, like you have, it supports up to 3 people. So you go into these like basically missions and you have 2 other people that are with you. And there's a whole selection of operators that you can choose from. But the problem is, when you die in mission, your person becomes missing in action because the enemy basically kidnaps them and puts them in some weird fleshy thing, and you have to then pick another operator to rescue them in another extraction mission.
And this is why this game, literally when Matt described this game to me at first, because I was like, I was really skeptical because I remember watching the trailer and I was like, it doesn't look too bad at first. But then like, he's like, I'm going to play it. So I was like, okay, go ahead and play it.
I ran out of operators, bro.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. So the fact that it's so realistic that if you run out of operators.
I got to a point where I couldn't play the game.
Because
I literally couldn't play the game because I didn't have any operators.
The only way you could play the game is basically if you undownload it, restart it again, and then do the whole thing all over again.
You basically have to rescue them because they're trapped and they're all missing in action.
Well, that's what I mean. Like
every time you go in and they die, that operator becomes missing in action, and you cannot use them unless you rescue them. And in order to rescue them, each of these like fleshy things that has trapped the operator has these like, vein type things that are attached to them. Sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 5 or 6, and they have these like kind of like lighted bulges that come out, and you have to like shoot them in rounds, and they, one might start here, but as soon as you turn around, there's one there. And if you miss 1 or 2 of those, forget it, you're done. But at the same time you're trying to do that, you have these like parasitic alien things still coming at you. So if your teammates are not helping you, well, you're fucked. And that's exactly what happened every single time, because I'm trying to free my teammate, my operator, and these guys are just rushing off and doing God knows what, clearing another room. And I'm like, hey, I need this. Like, I need this guy because I can't play if this guy dies. And what do? I died.
He's like, I'm dead for the
And I'm like, I guess this is my last operator, so I might as well delete the game. You know what I mean? Like, but the game would be fun if they had it set like, not so much like Ghost Recon, but if it was set like The Division, and your operators just died would make it so much easier than them getting trapped and having to go in and rescue them, because that is like the downfall of the game is like you have to rescue them, and in rescuing them you die yourself. Then I probably have like 10 operators, John, in that fucking game that need to be rescued.
Well, and this is the problem, Matt, and that's why I said if the fact that you can't play a game because you've already lost all your options.
I left men behind, John. I left them behind.
How dare you leave them behind? God damn it. I told you there's no man left behind, bitch. And I'm like, no.
Oh, fuck that. I mean, they might as well, I might as well kill them.
So,
I mean, they might as well, at least if I had the option of just killing them, maybe they would just be back in my list.
I mean, it could be.
And they would be ready for a mission again, where.
So I'm going to tell you something real quick, because I know we're going to have to wrap this up here shortly. But I did, however, see if there was a new game for Tom Clancy that is supposed to be coming out. Apparently, I just looked this up. It said the next Ghost Recon game will be reportedly a first-person military tactical shooter and feature dark missions. The code name for this project, it's codenamed Project Over. And it's supposed to be released sometime in 2025, 2026. They don't really go over a lot of details, but I guess it said it will feature a return to the first-person perspective, focus on tactical battles akin to milsims. It says basically inspired by games like Squad, Ready or Not, as well as Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Battlefield series. The next Ghost Recon installment, Project Over, will center around a fictional war in Naaman. I don't know where the fuck that is. Players will also follow an elite special forces group called the Ghosts as they conduct secret missions and uncover a traitor in the war-torn nation. It says the game will include dark and controversial missions, such as a scenario where the protagonist squad mistakenly targets a man holding a child initially thought to be carrying a bomb. That's just what they're saying, but I'm not going to lie, man. If that is the case, I mean, who knows, man? I mean, maybe that will be their redeeming, saving grace here, because Extraction is not that game. And I actually just looked up the top 10 best. Extraction apparently is on that list, which I was like, why did you ever put Extraction on that list? Because,
like I said, I mean, most of the reviews have it above 70%. So
that's dumb.
People do like it.
It's dumb, man. That is a dumb game.
When you have a game that you get to a point where people can't play, that's a fucking problem. Like, that's a problem for me. Like, I would not want to design a game
where I couldn't play,
that people can't play because their operators are fucking kidnapped by parasite aliens, or I have to you have to wait, a certain amount of time. Like, I originally played this like shortly after it was on the monthly list.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe a year later or so, significant time had passed, John. Significant. These motherfuckers should not still be trapped.
Let me guess, but they're strapped right now.
Oh, they're still trapped. And I played probably with 5 more operators to try to get at least one, and I failed each time. So now, yes, I probably have like 10 or 11 operators that are all I have no more, because like it takes time to play to get the experience to unlock the other ones.
So basically,
I'm fucked unless
you basically uninstall the game and then re-download.
I'd have to delete the game. But the thing is, it's an online game, so
no, I understand.
Can I even delete it?
I don't know.
Is it saved like Call of Duty? Because Call of Duty, you can't delete your online game. It's saved.
No, but you're right. It's saved. The same.
It's saved in the cloud, John. That's above your head.
It's the cloud, baby.
Anyways,
no, but yes, guys, I know Tom. I'll say this: if you haven't played any Tom Clancy games, I'll say this: it's very well worth it. I can say try. I mean, you're not going to unfortunately play like Rainbow Six Vegas and stuff. I mean, unless they had some way to be able to do that, maybe on the more likely, it's probably going to be more likely on the Xbox. But anyways, guys, no, I mean, like, if you ever have a chance, go ahead and play these games. I'm telling you, Wildlands is easily, because I looked it up too, top 10 easily of the best games, because it's up there.
I mean, if you have a PlayStation, I don't know so much about Xbox, but I know for PlayStation, like at least Wildlands, probably Breakpoint 2.
It's probably, I want to say
Division, at least the Division. I don't know about Division 2. I want to say Division 2 as well. they're all on the PS Plus right now.
Right, which Wildlands is definitely something we're going to have to definitely look at. But I'm just saying, man, I would love to play it again just because of the fact of how much fucking fun we had during that game. Again, it was one of the first games we really played together at that time.
I'm game whenever you are, bud.
Okay, well, sounds good to me, man. But anyways, guys, no, we appreciate you guys, tuning in and having this fun with us. And, hopefully in the next coming up weeks too, since we're going to be talking about fantasy football here shortly too. We haven't really mentioned that in a bit, but yes, we have our own league. We're already getting it going. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to also mention some key details about that as well.
I'm pretty excited with my team. Not to
toot your own horn here.
Not to toot my own horn. I mean, there's a couple players that, I was kind of like, well, why did I pick these guys? But I think overall, I'm doing all right. I'm a little worried about Jamar Chase, but
I think I would say honestly the most important week, and this is where I would say fantasy football in general is like the biggest one is your first week, because you need to understand like where are your players at and where are they heading, because it's really a make or break, because you might have some of the best players in what is projected to be in the league. It don't mean shit until after the first week, because
we have another draft coming up on Monday. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I forgot about that. Is it Monday or Tuesday? I thought
it's Monday.
Oh, is it? Oh, shit. All right. Well, anyways, guys, we're carrying on here. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.
Stay geeky.